don't do a lot of timely episodes on this show. Like, hey, that Us trailer brought back I Got 5 on it. Should have done a One-Hit Wonderland on that. I just didn't get around to it. Moment passed. I'd get a lot more clicks if I wasn't so lazy. Well, here's an opportunity.
This is the rhythm of the night. The night. Oh yeah.
Okay. There's this song that's been on people's minds lately. You know, Rhythm of the Night by the band Corona. We've been bringing that one up a lot more lately. For obvious reasons. You don't need me to tell you why that one's coming back. The Black Eyed Peas sampled it recently.
This is the rhythm of the night.
Baby, tonight's like fuego.
The Black Eyed Peas are back, by the way. 2020 really is the worst year ever. But yes, The Rhythm of the Night by the Eurodance act Corona. A hit in the winter of 94-95. Decently big, but not like inescapably massive or anything. Before this year, I don't know if this was really considered especially important or nostalgic. Wasn't forgotten exactly, but it was one of many Eurodance songs that hit in the early and mid-90s, and that whole scene didn't really gain a whole lot of devotion. There weren't stands or fanzines for Real McCoy or anything. But you know what? 90s nostalgia has turned out much different than I expected, especially the 90s music that's still influential right now. I had never given a single thought to Corona's The Rhythm of the Night. I don't know that I'd ever even listened to it the whole way through. I was a small child, I probably only remember it from dance compilation commercials on TV. And yet the second I heard that Black Eyed Peas song, I had no difficulty remembering it. That is not a hook you forget. So maybe it's time for a reevaluation of Corona and their biggest hit. I mean, timing isn't great. As I sit here recording this in April 2020, and all of us are trapped in our houses being terrorized by a fucking plague. And by that I am, again, of course, referring to the return of the Black Eyed Peas. But Corona's making a comeback all the same. There is one name on everyone's mind right now, and that name is... Okay, I worry that this is coming off kind of tasteless of me. Well, you know what? I've seen videos of those Italian balcony DJs. You know what they're playing? This song. If they're okay with it, I'm okay with it. I mean, I'll try and keep the pandemic jokes to a minimum, but I mean, if you want, you can go check out the comments under the actual music video. They're actually pretty funny. It's funny to me, at least. Granted, I am day drinking at 11 a.m., which is now 6 p.m. by my fucked up sleep schedule, so you know what? We're doing this. We can't go out and dance to it, so we'll have to do it in our rooms here. You know, let's check out The Rhythm of the Night. Da-da-da, the rhythm of the night. No, that's the other one, isn't it? You know which one I mean. You know, it's weird that certain countries have, like, pop stereotypes. I know what Korean music is supposed to sound like. I know what Germany is supposed to sound like. I know what Sweden sounds like. But I've never seen Italian pop pick up a stereotype exactly. Which is weird because Italy defined pop music for years. So much so that the genre was named after it. I have covered an Italian act on this show before, but their sound always struck me as kinda Scandinavian. I'm talking about the very first wave of house music. Yes, the phenomenon that swept the world, especially Italy. Did not start in Italy, but once it reached its shores, clubs were soon filled beyond capacity as this infectious craze feverishly overtook the entire nation. Yeah, I probably need to rephrase all of that. Okay, note to self, delete all that from the final cut. Don't forget, Todd. Okay, but specifically we're talking about Italy's special take on the genre Italo House. Italo House kind of overlaps with Eurodance, which basically encompasses every single early 90s dance song you can think of. Now, I'm still kind of an idiot when it comes to most dance music, but Italo House I can usually recognize right away. It has a very distinct sound, especially that piano. Like any dance music with a lot of piano chords, like... There, that's Italo House. But our story begins before the rise of Italo House, in the waning days of Italo Disco.
You gotta do that. You gotta do that.
There we meet our aspiring pop star Lee Marrow. If you're wondering why he has an English name, well, his real name is Francesco Bontempi. I guess he was shooting for the English market since his songs were in English. Unfortunately, the only hits he ever had got big in German-speaking countries. And if you think an Italian with an English name being popular in Germany is weird, Wait till you hear it. This has not aged well.
In Shanghai.
I think this comes from the lineage of other exotic 80s pop songs. You know, Africa, One Night in Bangkok, China Girl, that all kind of bank on old stereotypes from old movies. But I'm not sure he's even doing that right. Shanghai is a place of freedom to relax. Like, this is not a stereotype, I know. Yeah, and the rice hat and the kimono and the da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Yeah, all that stuff is probably best forgotten. Okay, well, he had a second minor hit in Germany also. Let's check that out.
Sayonara, don't stop. Sayonara, don't stop. Sayonara, don't stop.
Stick with what you know, I guess. Even if what you know is making songs about places you don't know anything about.
Sayonara, don't stop.
Okay, Sayonara and Don't Stop feel a little contradictory to me. I'm not entirely sure he knows what sayonara means. Woof. Okay, well that about does it for Lee Marrow's solo career. He kept putting out his own records without success for a few years. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of information about when or why Lee Marrow switched to his new project, Corona, but I can speculate that he noticed the new house music that was springing up. He did try to get in on that too, but I guess he realized that operating under his own name was a liability. That scene had a pretty specific sound and image, and it wasn't mumbling middle-aged men. No, you need a classic soul gospel type belter with a really loud voice. So I can only assume that's why he started Corona. He grabbed a singer, that's Brazilian model Olga Souza. I've seen clips of them performing through the early 90s, but they don't release a song until late 1993. And that is what we'll be looking at today. The original rhythm of the night has nothing to do with rhythms or nights. It began life as a completely different song called Save Me by the Italian group Say When. I could find out absolutely nothing about this group. I don't think they ever had much success. The verses of the song are pretty close to the same as the version we know, but it has an entirely different chorus.
Save me, when you lose control.
When Corona got their hands on this song, they threw out the hook completely. Possibly because he didn't want to be sued by Stevie Nicks. Yeah, so the version we know has an entirely different chorus, which is good because this song is basically all chorus.
This is the rhythm of the night.
That booming hook is written in my brain, but I couldn't have given you a note of the verses. It's not like the chorus is like thought-provoking lyricism or anything, but it does grab hold of you. So what about it has made it persist in the memory bank so long while, say, Touch Me by Kathy Dennis has been completely lost to time? Well, we'll get back to that. But I'll be honest, I got completely derailed while researching this song. I can barely think about the song right now, because as it turns out, Corona are liars! Pack of lying liar lie faces!
Girl, you know it's true.
One of the biggest controversies of the 90s, back when we had comparatively little importance to worry about, was Milli Vanilli. They made a few terrible but very popular songs, and then it turned out it wasn't even them making those terrible songs.
So we give this Grammy back now?
On the back of that, former weather girl Martha Wash also started making a stink about how she had sung some of the biggest hits of the early 90s, including some of the really big Italo house hits, and yet there was a bunch of skinny bitches in the videos pretending to be her. So after that, I assumed that everyone learned their lesson and cut it out with the lip syncing. But upon further research, that is not remotely true. It didn't stop for a second. Convincing. In this specific case, Olga Souza is not the voice you hear there. That voice belongs to Giovanna Bersola, also known as Jenny B.
This is the rhythm of the night. The night.
I have no idea why no one got angry about this one. Might have been because I think Olga did perform live. I mean, she's singing along with Jenny B's backing track, but she is at least singing. Or it may be that everyone just realized that this isn't indie rock, it's dance music, no one actually cares. I have no idea why Jenny B didn't just become the front woman. It's not like she's not photogenic or anything. And Jenny B's voice is apparently super important here if I can still hear it in my head 25 years later.
I know you wanna say it. This is the rhythm of the night.
Olga is, a decent singer herself, but Jenny B's voice cuts through everything. Now, I don't think this is like the best Eurodance song. I'd put Rhythm is a Dancer or Ride on Time above it. But I think that one line hits the appeal of this entire genre.
This is the rhythm of the night.
This is the rhythm of the night. DeBarge was the first band to name a hit Rhythm of the Night, but that song doesn't sound like the night to me at all. It's too happy. It's not intense enough. That's a daytime song if there ever was one. You want a little night music, you want to go out clubbing and have some fun. Music like this is still what I imagined 25 years later. And the thing is, even though I said the verses didn't matter, the more I listen to it, the more I appreciate the verses. I've always had a soft spot for dance songs where you go out dancing to escape total misery. And that's kind of what it's about. It's a very desperate sounding song. Which is funny because the verses come from a completely different song. They have almost nothing to do with the new chorus. Like the original song was about romance. You can save me, I can save you from loneliness and so on and so on. It has nothing to do with rhythm at all. In fact, there's a line about how you can be my sunshine or something. I thought this was the rhythm of the night. But in an abstract kind of way, the verses and chorus kind of connect anyway. The rhythm is love, love is dance, dance is the night. It makes sense when you're listening to it. I think that's why it's stuck around as long as it has. The Black Eyed Peas were not even the first to bring this song back recently. Last year there was a remix that briefly charted. In 2013, Bastille did a bizarre cover mashup of it and Rhythm is a Dancer. I can totally see why a semi-gothy, dramatic band like Bastille would be attracted to it. It's one of those dance songs that makes dancing seem like the most important, soul-cleansing thing you could possibly be doing. And if you feel a little excluded from that because you can't dance, well, don't worry. Olga doesn't seem like much of a dancer herself. Oh man, rhythm is a dancer. And lack of rhythm is also a dancer. She can't dance, they don't let her sing. Why did they pick her to begin with? As is typical for the acts on this show, Corona are only one-hit wonders in the States. They had 2 or 3 more hits across Europe. Could probably start making this show about actual one-hit wonders, but for now I'm gonna stick with my provincial definition of one-hit wonder like the ignorant, ugly American that I am. The album finally came out in 1995. And if you were upset about the lip syncing and about Jenny B's credit being stolen, it might make you glad to know that that only happened for the one song. For the rest of the album, Olga Souza lip synced to a completely different woman. Her name is Sandy Chambers. For what it's worth, I don't know if anyone in the band ever confirmed the lip syncing. I was a little nervous that this might be a false rumor that got misreported. But, that's clearly not the same voice that sang Rhythm of the Night. I'm not great at picking out different voices, but listening to this, I would have to wonder when Olga Souza picked up a British accent.
Why can't we just stay together?
But as we've already established, no one cares. I don't even know why they bothered having a front woman at all. I guess they wanted to seem like real pop stars, so they needed to put a face to the voice. It didn't work. It's hard to give your band a personality when there's not the actual person singing. Now, your modern EDM producers have realized that they don't actually need a face there at all. But I guess at the time, you needed to pretend to be a real band if you wanted to get on MTV. In any case, this is their second hit, Baby Baby. Number 1 in Italy, top 10 in 12 countries. Is it any good? The thing about Eurodance, or at least the very big hits of Eurodance, is it all kind of sounds the same. Yeah, I'm sure there are people who are more into this stuff that'll get on me for saying that. La Bouche is completely different from Culture Beat. What's wrong with you? Yeah, sure, but you still know what you're gonna get. Like all these songs, they have the soulful chorus, the pounding beats, some kind of instrumental riff in the middle.
Try me out, baby, try me out.
Some are more memorable than others, but the formula is basically the same. And generally when I'm doing these episodes, I find that I agree with the weight of history. If one song seems to have outlasted all the other hits, there's usually a reason. A lot of Eurodance songs were annoying, these included. They all feel a little generic to me. They don't have that sense of drama that Rhythm of the Night had. Corona's thing that made them stick out was that, unlike their peers, they didn't have any rapping. Honestly, they maybe could have used a second voice to add a little bit of flavor. The one follow-up hit of theirs that sticks out to me is I Don't Want to Be a Star.
I don't wanna be a star, baby.
It's one of the first new disco songs. It's one of the first signs that people were realizing that disco actually wasn't that bad. But I wouldn't really put this up there with like Daft Punk or even Jamiroquai or anything.
I don't wanna be a star, baby.
Don't worry, you won't be.
Walking on music, yeah.
I'm not exactly sure what happened here, but around 1996-97, their label just spontaneously collapsed. Yeah, there's not a lot of information out there about one little Italian record label, but Disco Magic Records went bankrupt. Corona switched over to Lee Marrow's own record label, but that appears to have tanked the band completely. No one listened to Corona's second album, except in Spain. They still hit the top 10 in Spain for some reason. But other than that, yeah, not so great. After that, Marrow quit the band, let other producers handle it. Corona kept putting out records, and Olga was finally allowed to do her own singing. But I can't tell you for sure that Corona was sunk by bad business or even bad music. Corona got in on Eurodance when it was at its peak. It was all downhill from there. After that, dance music shifted rapidly. Big beat, bubblegum dance. Olga took Corona back to Brazil for a while. Their sound got a lot more Latin American. And eventually they went back to Europe, where they've just continually kept putting out singles and touring. Their hit-making days are well behind them, but they seem to be doing fine. Not really. Even if it was, I don't think this is the time for me to say, yes, we all needed more Corona. As with all things, Corona could not last forever. Fingers crossed. But these dance acts, they're not meant to be listened to like rock bands or pop stars, with like biographies and personal attachments. Except for the members of the band themselves, I don't think anyone really wanted or needed anything more from them. And yet their biggest hit really has stood the test of time. A lot more than much bigger hits have, in hindsight. And of course they're suddenly back in the spotlight now, and they're not thrilled about it. And yet the negative association seems to have helped people appreciate this song more. When people play this band now, it's in defiance of the stupid virus that shares their name. People are still dancing to it, even if only in their own homes. That's not a terrible legacy to have.
This is the rhythm of the night.